We're talking of the Indrani Mukherjea case, Indrani also known as Bora, and about all this that has been coming out in the media. You were making a point about aggression as against passivity. What
you see? Let's imagine our hearts as a wall, and
our hearts as a
there's a wall in our heart. Let's look at the plumb line model. When you want to construct a wall, you use a wall, a plumb line, to see whether the wall is smooth or not, straight or not, right? Then you chip off all the unnecessary rough edges.
Okay.
Now what happens is, because of the many crises that we go through, we over a period of time have developed a wall that is not straight. And the response to crisis in human behavior usually is only one of the two or a combination of the two. One is, I go in a cocoon and I try to isolate myself from the problem, and I try to win by not talking. I try to win by being silent.
That's what men do.
Probably.
Most men do that.
And then if you're stronger than the other person, you fight it out. You fight it out, and one leads to homicide.
So
the other leads to
flight.
suicide.
Fight or flight.
So the extreme of the fright or the aggression can be homicide.
Homicidal.
The extreme of
homicidal is murder.
Yeah, murder. Okay. And the extreme of being passive, if you keep on making those choices,
you inflict that pain and suicide is the end result.
So those are the two extremes. In her case, what I admire is she's got a plumb line. She's making a choice. She's making a choice to constantly come to that balanced way of responding to crisis. Now, in the midst of those crises, she needs a system around her to help her make those choices. Because if the crisis in itself is one pain to bear, then look at the crisis of our systems and our structures. How do you handle structural crisis in our nation? And I think it all boils down to ideologies, because ideas have consequences, choices have consequences, good ideas have good consequences, bad ideas have bad consequences. So I think for me it's not about a woman's, we're not blaming a woman, or for me that's not the point. What can we take away as a lesson from this episode? And that is, we have a lot of introspection to do, whether it's in our parenting, whether it's in our educational system, whether it's in our law enforcement agencies, with the way we write our policies. We can't fix people's problems simply by having, clauses. We have to start working on deeper issues of our hearts.
Okay. Now, what is the learning from all this? I want to ask all of you that question. What is the learning from all this Indrani Mukherjea case?
Picking up from what Aldrin had said, we have choices. We've all been hit. Like I said earlier, I'm a victim of abuse myself, of child sexual abuse. I had a choice whether I would do this or whether I would grow up and I would serve society. Made mistakes in between, but nevertheless, now I'm serving society.
You're a victim of child sexual abuse.
Yes, for many years.
Okay, and do men and women respond to child sexual abuse differently? Because they say men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Does it hold good here? I want to ask you.
It goes, gender is one, and the individual cutout is different. If the person is passive or aggressive, it could be different. The person may internalize the abuse. When the person externalizes the abuse, that's when it becomes when a child is abused, for example, studies clearly indicate that the child is more prone to addiction, or worst of all, an abuser himself or herself. Now,
if a child is sexually abused,
if a child is sexually
both
abused,
male and female, that child could be extra susceptible to addiction. It could be any addiction.
Any addiction. Could be alcohol, drugs, anything.
Pornography.
The new trend is that.
Okay. So is this good for both men and women?
What good?
Does this hold good for both men and women?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Both men and women are vulnerable. Now the individual, how the individual is shaped, how the genes are constructed is important in the way they respond to abuse. For example, you take 6 of us. If 6 of us are slapped, we would all 6 respond differently.
If all 6 of you are slapped on the face,
we would respond differently.
You would respond differently.
Each one of us
would show the other.
I would really have to get up and slap all of you to see what the response is.
Some would show 2 chicks, some would show all 4.
Okay, shall I do that? Shall I do that?
Some will say after
all
2.
of us will pound you with a 6.
Okay, or I'd probably get mauled in the studio. Okay, quickly.
So the point is this. In the case and context,
Okay.
she has a very clear learned behavior. She has toned and tuned herself to respond in this way. And how?
I want to ask you this. She is a woman. She was, I suspect, from the reports, abused by her stepfather.
But that cannot be a reason for doing this much.
No,
That is-
correct. No.
Okay.
My only point is, she was exposed to abuse, even sexual abuse, possibly, that's what it appears, even before she attained the age of 18.
So that's the grooming. That's
Correct.
the
So,
issue.
possibly was this learned behavior
See,
where her own
these
stepfather abuses her sexually, and she is only, and at the end of the day, she has a daughter. She says her stepfather is the father of that daughter.
See, these are crimes
And
of passion, Bansy.
And she, you can't call a victim, someone who's committing a crime of passion. Crime of passion you commit with full consent.
Exactly. See, that's what I'm trying to say.
so if
See,
a-
they were
wait, wait.
consenting. There
No,
were
I want to
consenting
ask you that.
issues.
Yeah.
No, let me take a closure on this.
Yeah.
If a person is a victim, he has to go for counseling and tell the truth.
But what will a little girl do? Someone who's 13
No,
years
no,
old,
whatever
12
it
years
is,
old.
No, because
I
by the
don't
time
know.
you're an adult, you know what has happened to you. So
I'm only asking on this one point. 12 and 13 and 14-year-old girl who was molested by her stepfather. Now, you yourself said he was in a position of power.
power, trust, and
So
authority.
he was in a position of power, trust and authority, and he abused her. So she had no option but to give in.
Yes.
So at what point are you saying she's the criminal?
See,
she's a victim.
This is what I was talking about, the mirror neurons. She's done the exact same thing, power, trust and authority, and killed her own child.
Mirror neurons.
Okay,
Generational
mirror
learned
neurons, we
behavior.
talk
She has
about
learned from that
monkey
and
see,
taken
monkey
it
do.
to a higher level.
We talk one second. We talk about monkey see, monkey do.
Uh-huh.
Your child, for example, you and your wife come
Monkey
from.
see, monkey do.
That is mirror neurons.
Monkey see, monkey do. What is mirror response we talk about is after the short break. Stay tuned.